Minister Justin Valentin, Minister for Education, Dr. Odile Dekomamo, Principal Secretary Education Services, Mr. John L'Espérance, Principal Secretary Education Sector Development, members of Executive Team, Teachers Council Board members, School Council chairpersons, head teachers and directors, teachers, ministry officials, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome. I am Cheryl Gom, and I am honored to accompany you through this auspicious ceremony, the launching of the Teachers' Council of Seychelles regulations. Today's event represents another milestone in the quest for continued improvement in the standard of education in Seychelles. In 2009, work started to initiate the setting up of the Seychelles Teachers' Council, and today, after much consultation and research, the final step in the long list of stages that was needed to enact the Teachers' Council has come to fruition. The Teachers' Council regulations is the important foundation that will give legal guidance towards ensuring high ethics and standards in education and promote best practices and high standards in the teaching profession. Without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to invite the Minister of Education, Dr. Valentin, to address us.
Dr. Dekomamo, Principal Secretary for Education Services, Mr. John L'Espérance, Principal Secretary for Education Sector Development, Director Generals, Ministry officials, Teacher Council Board members, School Council and PC board members, head teachers from public and private schools, teachers, good morning. The Department of Education launched the Teacher Council of Seychelles in October 2016. It was deemed to be a milestone in the ministry's ongoing pursuit of ensuring quality in the teaching and the learning process at all levels of our education system. One of the major roles of the Council is to ensure that all registered teachers have the required credential to teach in Seychelles and to a great extent have the aptitude to display a high level of commitment and maintain the required standard of the profession. A working group was appointed then with clear terms of reference, of which one was to spearhead the operationalization of the Teachers' Council of Seychelles. The ultimate goal was to ensure that the relevant regulations, framework, and guidelines were developed. Today, we are indeed very pleased that the Teacher Council of Seychelles Regulation 2021 is ready, albeit its realization has taken more time than anticipated. The launching of this regulation kickstart some critical tasks of the Council. In brief, the primary purpose of the Education Teacher Council of Seychelles regulation is understandably to provide a legal framework to formulate and standardize the teaching profession and the status of teachers so as to enhance learners' performance. In addition, a number of relevant documents to support the implementation of the regulation have been developed, of which some are being implemented, some are at the validation, and some are at the finalization stage. Amongst the major ones, the teacher schemes of service and the teacher management and development policy are already being implemented. Ladies and gentlemen, the Council is a professional body that will ensure whether the teachers working in Seychelles meet the required standard and are continuously engaged in professional development at the required standard for the teaching registration to be renewed. The Council will also promote best practice of high quality standard in teaching and the professionalization of the teaching profession. The Council, as per its function, will work closely with the Ministry of Education and provide advice on matters in relation to the profession of teaching, education, and training. It will be governed by a board appointed by the Minister for Education, which shall develop and approve the program of work of the Council in relation to its function. In delivering its mandate, the Council's board will also liaise with the consult other partners in education, raise the awareness that teaching touches everybody. Teachers need our support. Together, we need to champion the cause of teachers and take a stand for these dedicated professionals who regularly go the extra miles for our learners. Indeed, teachers, it is my wish that the professional body we are operationalizing this morning through the launching of its regulation serves your purpose and that it will be a powerful entity for your empowerment. It is expected that the Council will go a long way towards professionalizing teaching, safeguard your rights, assist you in meeting your aspirations, and give you a strong voice, and above the recently initiated school-based teacher-led forum. As a ministry, our effort to develop you continuously, improve, remain a top priority. I am hopeful that by continuing to work together, we'll help you in your way to improve the quality of teaching and really harness the power of education as a means of making long-lasting changes in the life of our learners, especially in this challenging time. I would like to thank all those who have contributed towards the establishment of this professional body. I am excited about what the Teacher Council of Seychelles can become, and I have great confidence in the collective experience and expertise of its board. At this juncture, I would like to acknowledge and thank all those who pioneered the initiative and helped to shape the Council and its operational framework. They have worked tirelessly and have consulted widely so that we have a body very much representative of the needs and aspiration of the teaching profession. It is now my pleasure to launch the Education Teacher Council of Seychelles Regulation 2021. I also avail of this opportunity to wish all teachers, and education professionals a happy Teachers' Day, which will be celebrated tomorrow. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Minister, for your inspiring address and officially launching the Teachers' Council regulations. I now invite the Principal Secretary for Education Services, Dr. Ojil de Komamo, to guide us on the content of the regulations.
Thank you, Ms. Cheryl. Minister for Education, Dr. Justin Valentin, Principal Secretary for Education Sector Development, Mr. John L'Espérance, executive members, board members, ministry officials, head teachers, teachers, distinguished guests, a very good morning to you all. I will go briefly over the content of the regulations, and we have a copy displayed here after the ceremony. If one of you want to see through, maybe you can do that. Otherwise, afterwards you will get your copy. Very briefly, I will go over the purpose of the regulations, the content of the document, and also briefly on the implementation plan. Minister already talked about the purpose, so I'll go directly to the different provisions that are made under these regulations. First is to establish the Teachers' Council of Seychelles. So this is the law. Then you have to establish the council. Then we have to implement and revise procedures and criteria for the registration and certification of teachers. We have to maintain an up-to-date, so the regulation makes provision to maintain an up-to-date register of teachers, to work in partnership with stakeholders for the provision of professional development of teachers, and also collaborate with the stakeholders to provide support for teacher development. The regulation consists of 8 different parts as displayed here. So I'll go briefly over each part, very brief, so that at least you have an idea of the different sections, the different parts. The first part is basically to give the citations. So if you want to cite this document, how you're going to cite it, it's under the part 1. And the citation is Teachers' Council of Seychelles Regulations 2021. In part 2, it's Teachers' Council of Seychelles. Now it makes provision for the establishment of the council, and then it elaborates the roles and functions of this council. It also outlines the role of the minister in this process. In part 3, it's about the board of the Teachers' Council of Seychelles. And the board, the provision for the board is to have 7 members. The members are appointed by the minister, and also in this section the role of the board is elaborated. Okay, the part 4 talks about the registrar and other staff of the council. The council is under the mandate of the Ministry of Education, and in the new structure, it will be hubbed under the Directorate of Regulatory Affairs, which is the domain. So this is the place where it will be hubbed. And currently, there is a registrar. The registrar is an ex officio and the secretary of the board. So Section 4 elaborates the role of the registrar and any other staff that will be under the secretariat of the council. So this is part 4. In part 5 is one of the sections that maybe will be of interest to all members. That is the one that talks about the registration of teachers. So it provides all the information on the maintenance of the register of teachers engaged in teaching in Seychelles. And here we are talking about teachers from early childhood to secondary level, and both public and private institutions. It describes it provides criteria for the eligibility for registration. It makes a provisional registration. We talk about provisional registration because, as you know, there are teachers in our system who are not trained. So the provisional registration will provide a registration for those teachers that we call supply teachers and give them a time frame for them to upgrade themselves to be fully registered afterwards. There is an application form, and let's try and see if we can hyperlink this form. This is the form, the registration form for teachers to fill in to be able to get the certificate. So we have copies of the form here. Later you can have a look. And the form is a schedule in the regulation. So at the back of the regulation, you can have a copy of the form. As you can see, all the details are here, including your clearance, security clearance, and everything. Okay, thank you. Okay, this section also talks about removal, at which point we remove a teacher from the register, and also the changes that may happen in a teacher's status. This it also provides details here. In part 6, we talk about investigation in the investigation committee and the appeals committee. So in part 6, we talk about investigation, the procedures to investigate any matter that is put to the council. And in part 7, it talks about the appeals committee. In case there is a decision, let's say, for example, the council has decided not to accept a teacher's registration. So the appeal, the procedures for the appeal is outlined under part 7. In part 8, we talk about financial and miscellaneous provisions. We talk about prohibition. Why is prohibition here? Because we talk about financial. This is a fine in case the council's name is used or the register, any document is used on false pretense. Then there is a fine that goes with it. It also talks about the funds of the council, registration and so forth, the amount you pay, and also the accounts of the council. The council has to provide an annual report, and the report will be given to the minister. Now, briefly about the implementation plan. So what next? We have the regulations. What is the next phase? First of all, after this launching, in collaboration with the AG's office, we need now to set up this council. Okay, so the provision is there. We need to set up this council. And then we need to print all the codes, the certificates, the forms, the logos, and everything, so that at least we can send to all institutions. We need to purchase our registers, and we also need to have some promotion to encourage teachers to register. And then we have the full operationalization in January 2022. Also, when we talk about implementation, Minister mentioned some of the documents that have to be ready. Some of them are ready, but there are others that have to be ready together with the final document to be implemented in January. So these are the reviewed teacher appraisal policy, the teacher competency framework, and also the framework for induction of newly qualified teachers. Most of those documents are almost ready to be presented, to be at least discussed once more with our partners, with teachers, with schools, and all, before we can finalize them. Minister mentioned consultations. We've had a lot of consultations, especially with the Code of Professional Ethics. This also is displayed here on the table. And the code was shared with all schools, both public and private. And we got their input to finalize the document, which is now being referred to in the regulations. Before I conclude, I would like to acknowledge the participation, the contribution of some key persons. First of all, Mr. Victor Poole, Senior Legal Draftsman from the AG's office. He has accompanied us from 2016 up to the finalization which is happening right now. He will still be assisting us to set up the council after that. Ms. Inez Oedzi, who is the current registrar. Thank you, Inez, and she has been instrumental in organizing today's ceremony. Mr. Dora, consultant, for his guidance throughout the process. He's not here with us. And also the board chair, vice chair, and all members for their involvement, encouragement, and participation, especially instrumental in the devising of the Professional Code of Ethics, and also sharing with all our partners. And going through the document thoroughly, it has been a very long process, going back and forth from the AG's office. So thank you, board members. And Mr. Souf and TMD team, they also have a key role to play in finalizing all the additional documents to be ready by 2022, especially the competency framework and the induction of newly qualified teachers. I thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Dekomamo, for the insightful presentation. It is an opportune moment to present the men and women who have worked tirelessly on the setting up of the council. Many of you here may have been involved with some council members in deliberations on the Teachers' Code of Ethics. Some of you have also engaged in the design of the logo for the council. The Seychelles Teachers' Council is comprised of 5 board members. Those who are absent today, they are on important mission. May I present to you Mr. Baker. Mr. Jules Baker, the current chairperson of the Board of Teachers' Council of Seychelles, has 29 years of service in government. Over the last 20 years of his term of service, he has held several senior positions. From 2005 to 2009, after leaving the Employment Department, he occupied the post of Corporate Services Manager at the Seychelles Ports Authority. He moved back to Employment Department in 2009, where he held the post of Director General for Labor Relations and Employment Promotion. Mr. Baker moved to United Kingdom in 2012 to pursue his studies. He graduated with a first-class degree in law and business in 2015. Upon his return from UK, Mr. Baker was appointed as Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Seychelles Public Transport Corporation in September 2015. In April 2016, he moved to the Property Management Corporation in the capacity as Chief Executive Officer. In November 2016, he was appointed as Principal Secretary for Employment to date. Mr. Baker has also served on several boards and committees, both at the professional and personal levels. In 2016, he was the chairperson of Parents and Teachers Association of English River School. Mr. Baker's wide range of experience and academic competence have contributed significantly in his capacity as the chairperson of the Board of Teachers Council of Seychelles, especially in the setting up of the legal and administrative framework of the Council. Margaret Mumu. Miss Margaret possesses a BA in English and a Master's in Education by Research. She started her teaching career at the secondary level and has then expanded her experience in adult education at NIE, ALDEC, SIM, and UNICE. Miss Margaret has held leadership positions in several educational institutions. At the most senior level, she has taken the lead of institutions such as ALDEC and the International School Seychelles, as well as chairperson of UNICE Council. Miss Margaret's contribution to education and training has overlapped into the development of the National Human Resource when she was CEO of the Agency for National Human Resource Development. Although now based in Cabinet Office at State House, Ms. Margaret also always makes time to provide guidance and support to the education portfolio as necessary. Miss Inez Oredi. Miss Inez Oredi started as a primary school teacher at Cordially Primary. After her diploma, she later moved to Cordially Secondary. In 1998, she went to Australia, Edith Cowan University, to pursue her B.Ed in English Secondary. Upon her return, she was assigned the post of curriculum coordinator at Ansbalo Secondary School. In 2002 to 2013, she occupied the post of head teacher at several primary schools, namely Takamaka, Cascade, and Ansopin. Ms. Inez has a master's in business administration and educational leadership, which she obtained with the University of Lincoln in UK. Afterwards, she became a teacher educator at SITE, a post which she occupied for 1 year. Currently, she is the registrar of the Teachers Council Seychelles. Altogether, she has 35 years in the education system. Mr. Fabian Palmier, well known as Sir Fabian, started as a secondary school teacher. He was later promoted to deputy head teacher. Then he became a head teacher. He also later became the PS for Youth and Sports. He has a PGCE in Maths. He is currently the DG for Planning and Policy Division. Miss Christelle Betsy. Miss Christelle Betsy is currently the Director General in HR and Administration at the Ministry of Education. She has a diploma in Human Resources Management, which she obtained in 2013, and has been working in the education system since 2015. She is responsible for providing strategic leadership in the development, planning, and management of human resources and physical assets within the ministry. Mr. Michel Bistoke. Mr. Michel Bistoke has an MSc in Human Resource Management and Development. He has studied in University of Leicester in UK. His present position, he is working as a Principal Policy Analyst in the Department of Public Administration for the past 11 years. He is experienced in Human Resource Management and Development Policy Planning and Analysis. He has worked at the Ministry of Health for 10 years and at the ANHRD for 8 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I give you the board of members of the Seychelles Teachers Council. Let us give them a big round of applause for having accepted to take up the challenge. So thank you, board members. May I take this opportunity to wish you all the best in your new undertaking. The second important part of our ceremony today is the unveiling of the Teachers Council logo. The logo competition was launched in all schools, and teachers were invited to present their ideas of what the Council's logo should be. After receiving the submissions, the panel decided to use remarkable aspects from 2 submissions to make the logo that you are going to see today, and that will be used on all of the Council's communications. I would like to call upon Mr. Valentin to do the unveiling of the logo. Thank you, Minister Valentin. I would like to invite Mr. Pierre-Joseph, the Director of National Conservatoire of Performing Arts, who was an important member of the panel, to lead us through a description of the logo.
Good morning, Minister. All protocol observed. It's a pleasure to try and explain this, because after getting all the submissions together and then choosing the 2 together, I didn't want to have any disrespect for the entries. So this sort of summarizes what happens in the teaching field, what happens outside of the teacher education, what happens in the homes, but most importantly, what happens to ensure that this remains legal. So this slightly represents the key person who is a teacher, but also any person who is like an achiever, by showing the crowning and the raising of the hand. Both entries had this, so both artists here submitted this. And then to show the levels of commitment and what is required for them to be legal under this framework, we try to put all the levels of expertise that is required for them to progress. So you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4. In no particular order, you can decide what those components will be. Dr. Dekomamo mentioned that there's 8 levels, and these are the first 5, and then you see they are encircled by a big black semicircle. It should be a circle, but for design purposes, you can't really close that. Leave it open. So this represents part of what the teacher is and all the attributes that he or she gets. So that black semicircle is for this person. There's a round semicircle that is all that is required that is outside of the person. So everything that you bring in, the environment, the politics of the place, the development at present, and this is what secludes the Education Council. This is the embodiment of all this whole description to make sure that this is a legal framework and it happens. So I hope this has kind of summarized what the two entries looked like, because we realized that both of them were in their own right very good designs, and we tried to bring it together. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pierre. May I call upon the chairperson of the board at the front to present the prizes to the logo winners. Ladies and gentlemen, the logo has been conceived from contributions from 2 winning submissions. The winners are Mr. Jeff L'Espérance and Mr. Alain Marie. Both teachers are from Pralin Secondary School. Okay, so may I call Miss Nancy to be the representative of the 2 winners to receive the prizes. Yes, on their behalf. All right. Thank you, Ms. Nancy and Mr. Pierre-Joseph, the chairperson. Mr. Pierre-Joseph put together the proposals and designed the logo we have today. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow teachers, I am pleased to inform you that a series of sensitization sessions on the Teachers' Council regulations, the roles and function of the Council, as well as the process for teacher registrations will be conducted in the near future. In closing, on behalf of all teachers, I would like to commend the Ministry of Education for establishing the Seychelles Teachers Council. I appeal to all colleagues for us to do our part to abide by the standards set and avail of opportunities for us to continue to grow professionally, all for the betterment of the children and youth and education in our beautiful country. The other person. Mr. Pierre-Joseph, may you come in front, please? Okay, thank you, Mr. Pierre-Joseph and the chairperson. On this note, I would like to thank you all for your presence. You are cordially invited for refreshment in the cafeteria. I thank you for your attention.